Hello and welcome to my tech demo for my final in game AI, and this is influence maps. Now, what you can see here is that we have just an empty grid world. You can highlight over each of the tiles, and you can also place some terrain down onto the tiles. So currently, the tiles that are implemented are a forest, a lake, sea, water, a pond, I don't know, water, a mountain, and finally, you can also put grass down and also um, a outpost for the AI. Now, most of these create static meshes when the simulation is first started, and that's the mountains, the water, and the forest. Uh, that is because they are mainly used for evaluating the value of the land for the AI to actually gather materials. And this will become more obvious. It kind of sounds weird in abstract. So uh, once we get there, I'll explain it again. I also, in this tech demo, allow players to save whatever layout that they are working on. And also load in case they wanted to come back to it at any point. Uh, so I have a default map here that I used for testing, and it contains a lot of lakes, it contains forests, mountains, and this is what will be used for the simulation. And so whenever you're ready, you can click the start button here on the left, and it'll open up these two windows here, these two bars. And on the right are the influence map buttons, and on the bottom are the decision buttons. Um, so going briefly over the influence maps, the first is the AI influence map. This will show the range of what the AI knows about. This is a replacement to a kind of fog of war system. So whenever the AI needs to place down a new settlement, it'll only place within these places that it knows about. So if it's, for example, looking for the best food source, even though it might technically be around this square right here, they'll probably choose here or over here because it knows about it. And so that's the AI. There's also a food one. Food combines both lakes and forests, so like hunting and fishing. The places with the highest amount of green are where there is the most food per tile. So you can see that it's like this over here. So in this like lake area where there could be fishing, and down here as well where there can also be fishing. Because I think I valued fishing a bit higher than hunting. Um, just to get a difference. But you can see that there is food pretty much available anywhere on the map. Um, the next is logging. So places with the highest amounts of logs are in orange and then slowly goes back to gray, while the places without any influence uh, don't have any logs available to them. So you can see that these bundles here have the highest values for log influence. Finally, there is the mountains, and this is for ore, stone, whatever uh, material might be there. And this is, as you can see, it's very blue where there's a lot of mountains. Um, so at this point, um, these things on the bottom here are stuff that the AI could theoretically decide if it had a decision tree. Instead, I leave it up to the person using the tech demo to think about what the AI would want. So going from left to right here, we have to build another outpost. So this will provide more influence. A hunting area, so this is for fishing and hunting. A logging for logs, and mining for mining whatever resources. So taking a look at the influence map of the AI, I think the best idea would be to construct a logging thing. So clicking this button here should create a new thing. And if we look at the logging, that's like the closest you can get that's unoccupied. Again, the AI can't build on anything that's occupied. I think I forgot to mention that. But so this is the highest value that it could find within its influence, which is rinsing here. And now you can see that the logging camp provides its own center of influence along there. And so the outposts work a little bit differently. So if you click build an outpost, you'll see that it kind of places it a little bit far away. And that's because the tile that it was on previously, this right here, was one of the lowest influences that the AI had. Basically, the AI went through all of its influence, found the tile with the lowest influence that was unoccupied, and then built it there. If there was multiple tiles that were unoccupied with the same level of influence, it just randomly chooses it. There's nothing particularly special about that, and that goes for any of the buildings, except it's for the most influence. If any of them share the most influence, tiles share the most influence, it'll just build randomly. At this point, that's basically the entire demo. You can use it to build out your influence map to make decisions about where necessarily the best places to build would be. Uh, I guess a final kind of feature is that uh, if there is no good places for a either no open places or they don't have any access to like a mountain or logging or food. The AI, even if you click one of these buttons, will not just build it. It'll just say can't build this as a way to showcase that the even it's not going to just randomly build. It has to have some kind of influence. Thank you for watching, and this has been my tech demo.